Kevin Chaos here. I'm going to make this entire video off of two words. Choice and responsibility. Let's see where the mind goes today. Now, I won't give you a cliche, but you could say, if you wanted, that I'm guided by the Spirit. I go with what is right. I go with what makes sense. I go with that intuitive divine sense of the right thing that benefits not just myself, but everyone possible at the same time. So, today's video is about choice. We are all addicts. We're addicted to the dopamine responses of joy in our brain. We're addicted to the ideas of civilization, of unity, of love. We cloud our own judgment with obsession on any thing, feeling, person, or thought. We allow ourselves to become dominated, allowing others to make choices for us, allowing the programming of the world, the friends of the world, the politics of the world, the television stations of the world, the music of the world, the books of the world. I could have made that really fun and go on and on and on. First, let's talk about regular addictions. This is poison in small contents. It will not kill you, but it could. And we know that. Yet we do it anyway. Because it's just so good. It's fun. I wanted what I wanted when I wanted it. We're all kind of big babies. You know, when your caretaker, just in case you don't have mothers and fathers out there, whoever your caretaker was growing up, whatever that supervising, even if only sometimes figure was, they had a set of rules they posted on you from the beginning. This is bedtime. This is when you're to be indoors. Whatever those rules were. I find it interesting that as adults, that figure's gone. And often, we don't replace it consciously with a new figure, nor ourselves. Oh, now that I'm an adult, I can go to sleep anytime I want, or not. I can eat whatever I want, or don't. And so, now who's to blame? When you didn't like caretaker or mommy or daddy, when you didn't like the father figure, the authoritarian telling you what to do, now what happens? You tell you what to do. Which leads to the sad, inescapable truth that you're responsible for this hard time that you're going in. You're responsible for this hard time that you're going through due to choice. You chose. Now, whether you went to bed and got a good night's rest, you chose when arguing with your friend to continue to open your mouth. And let's say that you know of your faults and insecurities, you know of your difficulties, you know of your challenges, you know what you're working on. Well, then you know them, and now you're choosing as well as having no excuse. So instead of walking away when things get anxious, say, you tune right in. And roar at a person knowing they're going to roar if you stick around. That's so silly. But there's no governing body there to help make the choice for you now. And depending on if you're religious or not, you may or may not have a set of guidelines to help you make those choices. It's important to analyze then the choices we're making every day, the cause and effect relationships between whether you have diarrhea later because this turns out to have a lot of B vitamins in it, and some B vitamins are diuretics, which means it makes you go to the bathroom faster. You chose, say, to ingest something in high salt concentrations and wanted to complain later that your chest was tightened. You chose that. But you also chose the high that you might get from there being 500% of the daily recommended need of just one of those vitamins. Now, on the other hand, you might choose something good for you. You might say, that sucks. And even if you do it anyway, say that's a person in a metaphor. That's a bad choice you're probably going to keep taking. Well, let's surround it with a little bit of good choices, shall we? I know that ultimately this, or alcohol, or similar things of joy, might dehydrate me. So at the same time, let's prepare for the possibility of a bad time, for the possibility of an equal good choice of hydrating at the same time. In the friend scenario, you can prepare knowing without obsession, without mask, what this person is. You've seen cause and effect in the past. You've seen how they treated you in good days, how they've treated you on bad days. You have it within you to make a better choice now of how to handle those scenarios. Oh, this person's a screamer. Do you join them in the screaming? What little that helped last time. Do you listen as an understanding person? Do you walk off and save yourself? How much of a repeat shall this be, and how much does it cost me? You should judge things, if that's the right word, on how much they cost you. How little can you do for a person of poison? If right now, at least, they want to be poisoned. Later on, they might choose a little bit of relief. But right now, that's not happening. So what are your options? You need to be mindful of your choices each and every day, of the things that you expose yourself to each and every day, of the choices that you give to other people in the company each and every day. I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to eat? I don't know, what do you want to watch? Is a lot of us letting someone else take the lead and then wanting to be sad and upset about it later. Or arguing with someone when you know they've made up their mind, choosing to keep this charade, this make-believe up, but just a little bit longer because, what, because you want to be right? Or maybe even because you hope they come out to your opinion later on? Well, that's not choosing something healthy. That's choosing to keep this around a little longer. And I can judge it or not. But the fact of the matter is, this isn't providing as much as it seems. It comes at a cost when we crash later, just like the friend. It comes at a cost to our wallet, perhaps, just like the friend. Our time, our consideration, what we our sacrifices, because it will be doing damage to the body. Everything comes down to your choices. Whether you choose to subject yourself to repeats of unfortunate circumstance, or say things as the beautiful thing that they are, mind you, for whatever unique decisions that they make, even though those decisions don't match your decisions, that's great. They make a great with them, don't they? And in the end, you know they'll come around, and one day, but not due to us, it's not because we were patient and we were there and we showed them, or it would have already happened, right? But one day we know they'll come around and they'll be able to have this thing we tried to share with them called friendship and love and happiness and joy. But until then, until that day that they're really going to make those decisions, and you know, friend, that they're not going to yet, then we need to be responsible in every moment for the decisions we're making ourselves and for the decisions we're allowing other people to make for us. It is a sad, darkened truth to say that you are responsible. When you say hi back to a person, you've engaged. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're constantly learning as you go along exactly what you're dealing with, any bad or negative outcome, any sorrow you may have, any anger you may have, anything that you experience after that, you need to remember, it's not just this other person. You'll get into situations where, say you fought with somebody. We got a friend named Pete, and you fight with Pete. But let's say Pete has the exact same circumstances occur with me, and I don't fight with Pete. How is it possible that Pete was wrong if other people in the scenario with Pete would have been perfectly okay? So that lets us know emotions are our responsibility to handle, and our choices are our responsibility to handle. We can't just blame Pete because he said some detestable shit. He might have even said some detestable shit knowing that it was going to get a reaction from me. He might have done it entirely deliberately, but Pete's only about as wrong as you are for neglecting your free will and decisions between what works and what does not, the agreeable and the disagreeable rather than good and evil. you made just as much a decision to continue to entertain Pete's negativity as he bred forth negative seeds of destruction, and you allowed them to grow to fruition through you by the choices you continued to add into watering that damn seed. You are just as responsible. It's very important you recognize this. The sooner in life, the better, that you will get less and less times being depressed, less and time self-condemning, less time even condemning others. Because instead of seeing the entire world full of enemies, you see that the only enemy you have is yourself, and you do what it takes so that you're not your own enemy, you're not getting in your own way, you're not making decisions that go against your own well-being and your good health. And you learn appreciation for life as it is, not for just what it can give you, not for just what looks and acts like me, not over in other groups for what looks like my skin color. You learn to appreciate everything this way. It no longer holds power over you because you're the one making your choices. It no longer holds power over you because you're the one making your choices. Instead of allowing them to flick a switch and activate an emotion within you, or say a word and activate a reaction, not an action. An action is thought through. A reaction, like chemistry, happens. They can pull strings all they want, but once you become aware that there's a puppeteer above the puppets that you're watching the show of, you no longer simply engage with the puppets. You know it for the mirage that it is. It loses its magic. It loses its illusion. You awaken to the fact that life is a stage filled with delightful characters of all different shades and kinds with different positions, and you'll enjoy it more. You'll make the decision, I guarantee it, at some point eventually realizing that you'd rather be the puppeteer, making deliberate choices, pulling specific strings, than you would be the puppet, rolling along, tumbling, tugged along by whimsy of a skilled string puller. You'll make the decision to get healthy when you're sick of being sick. That's when you'll do something about it. So make a choice today. At least combine good and evil, right and wrong for you, with what burdens you. You subject yourself more often than not to misery, to misfortune, to mantra, that is to repeat, negativity, hostility, names people call you. You put yourself in an online environments, to Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Instagram, and allow all of these people to get access at what you're going to be thinking about all day long. Here's a comment. Some people know this and say stuff to hurt you so that you stay hurt. But you have the choice to not read them at all. You have the choice to know that they're a stranger and their opinion might not mean anything. Undismiss it. You have the choice not to be in those environments. There's 1,000,001 ways where you can make a choice to where that doesn't have to be the way for you. You have the choice to pray, meditate, mantra, repeat your own messages each day to drown out the excess noise of negative Nancy suggestions. You should kill yourself. It's my favorite insult in the world. It's so large, and it shows the ridiculousness on how you should never take a suggestion from a stranger. Even love can come off as a suggestion, but I'm sure you've been in bad relationships, listener, from time to time, where love didn't seem to be all cracked up. It was because that person's idea of love wasn't really all-encompassing love. It wasn't unconditional love. It wasn't love. It was, I love you for what I can get. I love you for what I can do. I love you for ego reasons, right? So if you think in a sort of terms that almost every action is self-motivated, what's in it for the hero being a hero? In a way, they didn't ask you to call them that, but I'm sure that they like their position as being a hero, or they wouldn't be one. Or an artist, or they wouldn't be one. Or a doctor, or they wouldn't be one. So you can consider everybody's path to be somewhat selfish a little bit. I'm doing this for my God, even for the religious people. Everybody's path is somewhat selfish. Now, if you consider that people can be even more selfish, that people might actually take selfishness to a point to where it takes from others to fuel their selfishness, you're going to be on your guard a little more. Not worried about all the dangers to come, but prepared that there are people out there in the world like that they're going to extort the facts of how things work, that people are more emotional, that people tend to be led, people form hive minds and cult-like mentalities, people don't choose to often make decisions with their head, but rather with their heart. And they're going to take advantage of that. The most important thing you can learn is to make your own decisions. Not to look for a bunch of groups of people that support you. Not to necessarily look for religion that supports you. Or, I just made a different angled video on this. Not to look for other people to speak for you. Other groups, other cults, other movements. We look way too often for codependency, for support from the outside world, that we're actually not so much finding support as much as we tend to make more sacrifices to fit into what might have, oh, there's 10% of my beliefs in this, so since they echo that, I'm going to listen and tune in this area more. When the other 90% is the 90% that is them, who they were, not the one part that you identified with. And you slowly surrender your subconscious and choices into going with more of what's acceptable underneath the umbrella of that term, that symbol, that picture, that outfit, that what have you. Choice is absolutely everything. I want you to practice the exercise, and I say this with total good intentions and faith, but you can see it as dark as your limited right now mind might be on perceiving it. I tell you to condemn yourself right now. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I want you to say, I did this to me. It's all my fault. Then, when you reach that understanding and you know it to be true, I want you to say to yourself, why is it all my fault? What can I do differently? Not the other person. They can be as wrong as they want, but once they exit my life, it doesn't matter. Once the day is over, once the marriage is over, the friendship is over, the court case is over, none of it no longer matters. So, at that point, say, what can I do different? What did I do wrong? What steps did I take that created a cause and effect relationship to where my choices resulted in these actions or reactions? What did I do that got this undesirable outcome? Maybe I can make a decision that won't do that in the future. Maybe I can make a new decision. I can see this part of me that's flexible, imperfect. I can see the part of me that is in room for growth. Instead of hyper focusing on what's wrong with the world, I can say, there's where I can improve. And here, this is what gets me my goals. I see now. And I guarantee you, if you make this a regular practice, the rest of the world will slowly not hurt you anymore. You will be able to appreciate black and white, up and down, left and right. You will be able to appreciate all walks of life because life will slowly lose its illusion over you. You will see it for what it is, and you will see that the most important thing you do each day is control yourself, not others, not how others perceive you. They don't have to like you. Some will, some won't. It'll be for the same reasons. And you will make the decisions instead that will lead to your health and your happiness and your well-being. And it doesn't mean that it has to come at the expense of others or that you had to act exactly like them to get there or be a monster with monsters. It just meant that you... Imagine if Jesus and Satan were sitting at a table, drinking wine, clinking glasses. They know the rules of the game. This is a metaphor, okay? They know the rules of the game, and they say, hey, good game, buddy. You couldn't get me, but you couldn't get me either. And life, of all of those heavy forces, seem to have just stalemated off because the devil seems to be toasting, hey, and so does Jesus. I'm doing mine, you're doing yours. Imagine if more people on earth could actually make that sort of decision instead of waging war against everything and fighting everyone else, which in a way is just fighting yourself because of this truth. If they could simply go make a better choice for themselves. You're asking to be involved in a world you don't enjoy, in an environment you don't enjoy when you give away these choices, with people that you don't enjoy, doing things that you don't enjoy. And you have the audacity, we should be humble and admit this, to blame the bad guy and call it a bad guy or girl or person when we chose it. We chose it. If a hero went out to slay a dragon and died, should we make a big festival and parade for the fallen, the willingly fallen, who decided to do something reckless and got a reckless reaction? You know, well, I killed 70 dragons before, until now. And you have the right to be reckless and be whatever different shape, heroic, demonic, aggressive, happy, whatever you'd like. But instead of this worship mentality, this group mentality where we surrender all of our choices into the ideas, ideals, and systems of others, I think it's much more important that we choose to say, well, you can go fight that dragon if you want, but I'm not following you. Or maybe you might say, that sounds like a fun way to go. Life is short. That's exciting. I'm going to go do that. But never would you say, in a perfect world, that, oh, damn, that almost killed me. It's all your fault. Because you chose, in that scenario, to walk along with a dangerous dragon slayer looking for monsters everywhere that he can seek to find them, and to commit himself to battle, to find more things to either be slain by or to conquer and dominate over. And at what point would a rational, sane human being in this hypothetical perfect world think that that's balance, think that that's health, think that that will bring them any form of actual joy? When we're giving reasons on why it's everybody else's fault, instead of taking responsibility for the personal, deliberate decisions that we've made ourselves, whether by reflex from our programming, which we can overcome with different practices, by programming ourselves, repeating to ourselves our ideas, our ideals, our values, and making those as set in stone, instead of allowing us to sway with the wind on the barge, on the raft, on the ocean, and allowing the wind, being someone else, to usher us along this way or that, surrendering our choices, surrendering our free will. I'd like you to make a healthy decision. And you may find the healthy decision is both in its proper context. This can have its benefits. This can serve a purpose in time, in proper moderation, in the proper setting, for a proper function. So can water. Water when you don't need it doesn't do much. Water when you do need it does a lot. Caffeine, amongst other things, there is a use for all of this stuff. Overdoing it, not understanding its function, just hanging out around it because it's what you're used to, it's what you're told the answer is or whatever. Oh, it'll wake me up. Not necessarily. How is it that it can wake you up and make you crash? Pretty neat to think about. So, you choose things over time, then, for what their functions are. This person is a good friend. Their actions might suck. I have to understand that, then, that they let their hearts rule their heads, and even though they know better, they know that this can hurt me and my friends, or whatever it is that they're doing, because it's not about me. I'm trying to give a neutral scenario. They still continue to do it. If I'm going to be happy and still choose to keep this around, I'm going to have to remember this is what it is. This is not this. This is not this. I can't continue to treat it like this and expect myself to be happy without illusion. I have to acknowledge that this also is making its own choices. This could be this, but it's not. It chose it just like we chose it, to follow its own path, to do its own thing, to feel its own feelings, to go its own way. Now, my only rational thoughts left then is to appreciate it for what it is. This is a monster. It is what it is. It cannot be anything other than a monster. There can be good qualities and good intentions, but it is what it is. And now I can let go of all of my fear, all of my anxieties. I don't have to worry because I know exactly what to expect. I don't even have to hide from or necessarily delete the monster from my life, because I know that in every chance that I get, I'm still choosing the water. I'm still remembering what's important. I still know who I am. I still know what I want. And it doesn't matter that the monster makes decisions that I don't like, because the monster only makes decisions that affects its own life unless I forget the power of choice. Unless I let the monster make a choice for me, then I am perfectly fine. I win. I succeed in all that I do. So, hopefully this gives you something to think about today, folks. The power of choice in all moments. Blame you. You did it. It's all your fault. But so is your happiness. Tune in. Make your educated move. You could be this. You could be. And it's fun and it's easy. But you could be this. But whichever you choose, don't make the mistake that you have to belong. You can choose at the end of each and every day to say, I like coffee, but when I drink too much of it, it gives me a headache. So you moderate your coffee intake. Now you know that coffee is coffee. And you know what coffee does. And what it tightens, what it loosens, what goes up, what goes down. If you're paying attention to the experiences happen in your life. If you're living here now in the moment. If you're in the real world and not in an echoed permutation of a reflex. Of a reaction, not an action. Of some old feeling or thought pushing you along like that wind we discussed on the barge on the ocean. If you remember who you are and you make decisions in every moment to say, okay, so now I know, so if coffee gives me a headache, then I drink less coffee or I cut coffee out. Because obviously you might find drinking a little might still give some of you a headache. Okay, so this doesn't work for us. And then your next logical question should be, and this metaphor should apply to every aspect of your life, well, what did coffee do for me that I thought I wanted it? That I thought I liked it? Can I find that somewhere else? How to get there? And build better choices, better ways of going about getting to that same outcome without it having to harm you. I can appreciate things as what they are, can you? Whether you can or you can't. Practice this exercise. You did it. I will it. I am it. I said it. I did it. I saw it. Make the decision today. Instead of letting someone else puppeteer over you and forgetting that you're on a stage with them. Your choices are everything. So just choose. Don't blame the world. Take responsibility. We have a big problem with codependency today. We have a big problem with the devil made me do it. I was in a gang, so I was in a cult, so I was a Christian, so I grew up in a bad kind of town. But notice either way that all of those excuses, every time you just blame someone, start it with I. Ain't that some weird stuff? Every time you had an excuse, it was because I. Because of you. That's right. So now that you know it, you could say, and now, in this moment, I choose something different. Seek not the same old adventure in the same old circles. If you've done it already, what's the fun in that? It's time to be willful, here now, doing what matters, choosing poison if you want poison, but acknowledge it for poison. It's not this. Or choosing something good for you. As long as you can learn that you're the one making the choices, I promise you happiness 30 times anything that you've experienced so far. If you can realize you're the one making the choices, my grandma put it best once. You're the captain of your own ship. That's a really good statement. So why aren't you steering, friends? Why aren't you steering? Why is everything else the wrong religion, the wrong person, the wrong color, the wrong? It's all wrong. You're wrong. You're tuning into an abyss of dismal hate, of focusing on what's different. See the first video, How to Be Happy, instead of what's the same. You're not seeing things as they are. You're seeing something to fight against. And like the metaphor of the vampire, isn't that incredible that mythologically they cannot face themselves in the mirror? People miss a lot of what's being said to them because they're not operating with their head. They're operating in a sort of echoed permutation. They're operating from the past. I grew up this way. I've got PTSD. I've got many illnesses in me, but we need to acknowledge and understand this fundamental truth that we are the ones in control if we want to be. We're just a bunch of chemicals responding to each other and public suggestion if we choose not to be. So make the choice today. Be happy. Or don't. because I'm going to fully support your right to be unhappy if that's what you want. But if you're looking at me, if you're having a conversation with me, if you are comparing yourself to me or to others, and you say, how come this person gets everything they pray for and I don't get should? You don't get should. I'm just censoring here, trying to make it a little nicer. Because you don't really want it. You talk like you want it, you ask in empty prayers like you want it, but all of your actions, your choices, go toward the fact that you don't truly want it. You don't really want peace. You don't really want happiness. You don't want contentment. Part of you likes the war right now. Part of you likes comparing yourself to others right now. Part of you likes fighting right now. You like opposition. You like difference. This is the truth. If you didn't, you wouldn't be there. You could choose the exact opposite thing the same way that you're tuning in on purpose all the time into arguing. All the time into disagreeing. All the time into trolling. And to trolling trolls. Ain't that some shit? It's all because of you. And the sooner you fucking realize that, the happier you will be. Oh, I cried, and then this woman broke my heart. And yeah, sure, I guess. Whose heart did she break? How the fuck did she do that again? No, you did it. With false perceptions and projections. And although that's easy for all of us to fall in line with, and understand, and resonate with, there will become a point where that won't happen, because you can see a person as they are. You see the good and you see the bad. You see the potential for good. You see the potential for evil. You see what's real. You see what's deceit. And therefore, you either accept it or don't for this person being who they are, and you actually make it or you don't. Because now we're not looking for a big illusion. We're not looking for them to charm us with the right words to say, or a big pat on the back, or because they know what food we'd like that can shut us up from arguing, or any other form of what is ultimately manipulation. They're making choices to override your choices of something negative, right? Don't fall in love with illusion. I give this to a lot of people. I can admire a flower without having to pluck it out of the ground. Without having to own and possess something, I can appreciate something for what it is. That's legitimate love. That's genuine love. Now, if I can say I only like this flower if it can be dried and put into this thing where I can keep it forever, which is kind of how people tend to approach things. You made the decisions, though, friends, to let your guard down. You made a decision when a person cheated to look past it. You made a decision when a person lied to look past it. Now, here's the kicker, though. Did you look past it because it was right to look past? Because you can see all these things, understand it, and have bigger goals? Or did you look past it because you needed to feel better, you lied to yourself, and you told yourself that these things wouldn't happen again? Those are the differences. Acknowledge things for what they are. There is no bad. There's bad for you. You're choosing to constantly create bad scenarios for yourself and repeating giving away choices, surrendering to ideals. These things are way too far in the future or way too far in the past. They're not right here, right now. They're not real any more than your feelings are real. They're just feelings. They're just thoughts. You need to instead establish a connection with yourself more than with the world, and make your decisions accordingly. This will bring me much more health. It's up to me to bring joy. This might chemically shift me into joy, and it will not bring me health. I can pretend that it will. That does not mean it's true. They could change the chemical formula and put out a new Monster 2.0, and a new and improved formula, and that happens from time to time with beverages. And they could try to trick me, right? But I know it for what it was from the beginning. A deception. This was something to sell me on chemical addiction. This was something, even if they change the formula, it'll just work in a different way, that its function was to kind of weave its way into you with promises of candy and funny stories. With promises, that was supposed to be Stewie Griffin from Family Guy, of good things to come. With promises that this will last. With promises that if you keep coming to me, you'll keep getting a little bit of this. It is what it is. Don't pretend it's water. Don't pretend your liar's not a liar. The moment you acknowledge that they're a liar, you never have to fucking be hurt by a lie again, because you know exactly what it is that they're going to do, how they operate, what their tools of getting there is. You will find an all-new level of acceptance for the world, or just tune them out. But most importantly, you will find a love for yourself as soon as you take the responsibility of choice. I hope you choose to meditate on this, my friends. I hope you choose to have a good life. I hope you choose... Well, I'm torn between hopes for you. I hope you choose what gives you a great life and an adventure, what makes you happy. But the less likely of scenarios that I also hope is I hope you also choose what gives you a long life, what gives you success, not just immediate satisfaction. Because that will fade. The things that might bring you that temporary spike, look at a math paper. Still peaks back down, okay? Up does not know up without down to contrast. The sun does not know the moon without the moon to contrast. I fucked that up, but you know what I'm saying. The sun does not know itself. Make your decisions for peace, love, and happiness today. Look forward to future projects. We have kevinsportal.com, a portal to all things Kevin. We have a podcast, The Infectious Geek, linked also from the website. Church of Kevin, that's for all you positive people, for all of the light that you need to tune into, for those who really want to feel and understand that love and how to maintain that love. This channel is for you. We have School for Evil. This is for the brooders, the realists, the people that like blunt language, rough around the edges folks, the neutral and the chaotic. And we have the regular channel. I don't have a name for it, so I stuttered there. To meet everybody somewhere in the middle. It is my hope for all of you folks that you find lasting joy and happiness, love for yourself, that you need not seek it codependently from the world. It is my hope for you that you make your own choices. It is my hope for you that instead of being a puppet, unless it is fun for you to do so, if you like the leaders and you find more joy with someone taking the reins, as is okay for some, that you do that if it's great. But that if you do not like things, instead of blaming the world and looking for how they can find even more ways to control you through that blame, through those emotions, through those projections, through the lack of being able to take action, then therefore it is my hope that you break up from the systems of control and you learn the ways of power, how to speak, how to dress, how to act, how to get exactly what you want. And I don't mean deceiving yourself or others. I mean being a being for once. So many of us has spent time in the prison, in the box, in the cage, suppressing ourselves to fit into a world, only to find out that nobody really fits into the world. People fit into different cliques, different wishes, different desires, different dreams, different love. And you're going to find that all are kind of equally special. But I hope that you find that special within you, that love within you, and you take off this huge ass fucking weight. Yet you take off all of the things. People will never be able to hurt you again if you're learning anything from these videos. People will never be able to bend you and fuck your day up ever again. Because you love yourself. You're doing what it takes for your health, hopefully. You're doing what it takes to accomplish your goals, hopefully. That you have a path to follow, whatever that may be. And you're not looking for people to agree or disagree with it, hopefully. You're not looking for people to approve with a big check mark or flag or a sign or anything, but instead loving and living yourself. That is my hope for you. You can have it if you just reach for it. What should we choose? I'm Kevin Chaos.